Hello and welcome to Exploring Global Problems, a podcast where we talk to academics from Swansea University whose groundbreaking research is tackling global challenges, from health innovation to sustainable futures and the environment, from digital technologies to clean energy. My name is Sam Blaxland, and today I'm joined by Farooq Shah, the co-lead and manager of the Natural Products Biohub here at Swansea. Farooq's research focuses on insect pest monitoring and their control using biopesticides. Farooq, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
So, why, in a nutshell, is this work so important?
Our work is important because world population is increasing and we need to grow more food. And one of the biggest threat to the food production is the insect pests. And with the insect pests, you generally control with the insect pests with using the chemical insecticides. But as you know, most of the chemical insecticides have been banned. So we are looking into alternative ways of developing safe pesticides, so we call them biopesticides. And these biopesticides are made up of the natural organism. For example, we get diseased, plant get diseased, insect also get diseased. So we take these microorganisms and develop them into the pesticides, and then these are applied. So this is one thing that how do we control the insect pests using the environment-friendly approaches.
Gotcha. So the increased need for food requires better growing techniques and better ways of growing the crops or whatever. How much of a threat are kind of insects to that, or how much do they impede the growing of the crops in the first place?
Well, insect pests can cause up to 40% damage by the direct feeding alone, so in severe cases. And if they are spreading the disease, because some of the insects, they carry the disease from one plant to the other plant, so they are a vector of the diseases. And in that cases, they can destroy the crop 100%. So there could be total crop losses. But the importance now is that because the world temperature is increasing because of the climate change, insects are having more generations within 1 year, and they are also moving from one area to the new area, and that there is reports of the insects being emerging into areas which are not previously infested. So that's where there is a threat to the food security is more from the insect pest as compared to the previously one.
I had read that one of the possible upsides of the climate being warmer was that crops actually grow better in warmer conditions, but I can see that we've already shot this down because there's a problem because the insects become more prevalent in those areas too.
Yeah, there are advantages, but also at the same time, as I said, that insect pests and the diseases. So they can also spread faster as well. And then now because of the more need for the food production, we are growing more and more food, more intensive farming, and that's allow the pest from moving from one crop to the other and one area to the other. And for that way, it is more important that we control them before they start to build up.
Understood. Now, I know this sounds like quite a simple question, but it's probably worth covering. The chemicals that are in the sort of maybe typical traditional pesticides that go on to what becomes our food, they're problematic. Why?
They are problematic. First of all, they cause damage to the human health. For example, most of them carcinogens, so they can cause cancer. And about 70% of the insecticides have been banned in the UK and in the EU. And also they have the worst effect on the biodiversity, and also they can pollute the groundwater as well. So it's a full chain reaction, that direct impact and indirect impacts of the chemical insecticides.
I've read that the UK government authorises the use of Neonics.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So the Neonics has been banned in the UK for the oilseed rape. So that's one of the example I would like to give. So they have been banned in 2013, if I correctly remember. And because there is no other insecticide available, the farmers were biggest threat of the cabbage stem flea beetle. So the cabbage stem flea beetle is a small insect which comes at the time of when the crop has been sown. And what it does is that it lays eggs and then the larvae goes into the stem. And when the plant start growing, the larvae start feeding from inside the stem, and then the plant fell down. So it can have a massive impact on the yield as well as on the plant growth as well. So since this insecticide has been banned, the farmers didn't have any alternative to control the cabbage stem flea beetle. So the option was either to take a risk and grow the crop, and then in the end don't have any crop at the end, or you don't grow the crop at all. Up until 2019 and 2020, there was up to 35% oilseed rape area was reduced in the UK. Then the prices started to go up, and then some people are coming back, but still at the moment there is no other alternative approach is available. So we are testing this insect pathogenic fungus to control cabbage stem flea beetle. So some studies have already been done, but there is also there is focus on to monitor these pests so that we can have better establishment of a crop and then see that where the pest is and then control it with the different approaches.
We spoke a second ago, I think, about biopesticides. Talk to me in more detail about them and what they are and what all of this involves.
So biopesticide is based off the living organisms, as I mentioned earlier, that there are microorganisms which cause diseases to the insect pests. So it could be bacteria, it could be fungi. So in our case, we are using the fungi, which they are present naturally. So if you take a soil sample, you will find some of the microorganisms over there. But the issue is that you find those microorganisms which are pathogenic. They can cause the disease, but how effective they are and how much is the number. So what we do, we take out the samples. So we have collected the fungal strains from all over the world, and then we test them within the lab. And when those show promising results, these are taken out and then they were developed to see that whether we can grow them on a commercial scale and then apply in the field condition. So this is the way we try to control the insect with using environment-friendly approaches.
On a commercial scale, I assume that comes with challenges.
Yeah, there are definitely challenges. For example, two main challenges is that whether these are the living organisms. So you need to remember this one. These are not the chemical insecticides, which you can control the batches to batches from each batch. The same formula is there. In terms of the biological systems, you produce them, then you have to store them, and then you apply them. So at every stage, because they are living organisms, so they can be damaged or they can lose their efficacy or their shelf life. So the first challenge is that how do we maintain their virulence, that they remain effective against the insects, because they naturally occur on the insects. And what happens is that when we start growing them on an artificial medium, so we take them out from the natural environment and then we start to growing on the carbon-rich medium where there is food is plenty. So natural process is that these fungi, then they lose their virulence because they are used to a very comfortable environment. So they don't have to express those genes. So they become less virulent. So although we have produced the fungus, but they are not as active as they are in the natural environment. And if you keep on doing this subculturing, we call them that if you have produced one batch, then second batch and third batch. So effectively what are you doing is that you are continuously producing this fungus on a nutrient-rich medium while the insect host is nutrient complex medium, and that requires certain enzymes to be produced to break into that insect or cause disease in there. But the culture in which they are grown in, those environment was not there. So that's why then they start to lose their virulence. So first of all, you need to identify the strains which are stable, that they do not lose the virulence when you are growing them. Then the second thing is that how easily and how cost effectively you can produce them.
Just taking a step back for a second and looking at this from, I guess, a layperson's point of view, I assume this broad area of research is quite a popular one to do because the idea of pesticides in general are things that people are very wary about, aren't they? And I'm just thinking broadly, the organic food movement. Does that relate to the kind of research you're doing, and has that been spurred on by the wider climate?
Well, in the last, I would say, the few years, there has been great interest in the great demand in terms of the biopesticides, and the number of the commercial products has already been launched. In the UK, we are a little bit behind because of the regulation, because you have to go through certain efficacy testing and the risk assessment before it can be launched. But in US, in Europe, and in some other countries, there are some commercial products which are already available. In the UK, there is one product which is being used for horticulture sector. But in terms of the food production, the use is a little bit limited.
The Natural Products Biohub. I mean, firstly, just picking apart the actual name there, what are natural products?
Natural products is anything which is living or comes from the living organism. So whether it's the fungal, whether it's the plants, so those are sort of the products which we use in our daily life.
And so an example might be?
For example, it's the aspirin. It comes from the plant. Right. So again, that's one of the example is that aspirin. Biopesticide is another example. We have got quite a lot of seaweeds and the seaweed-related products. So all these products people are using on a daily basis, but they don't know that they are coming from the natural sources, and these are the forms of natural products.
And very locally sourced natural sources as well. Okay, fine. So yes, the Biohub that has been set up here. Tell us all about that.
We had quite a lot of primary research going on in terms of the natural products. And there was a new discoveries, new products, or the new processes was being identified. And then we thought that, okay, there is a need for this research to be taken globally or to develop into the certain products. So back in 2022, we had a feasibility study with Swansea City Council to see that, okay, what is the scope, what is required for this Natural Products Biohub, how best we can develop this research, especially in the form of the natural products. So we took this idea and submitted a project to UK government with a levelling up fund, again through the Swansea City Council. And the idea was to create a biohub and where we can showcase or demonstrate that, okay, yes, how can we make a difference that by bringing together the academia, industry, and community, and then fast track that research which is taking place in the lab, taken to the different sort of the industrial scale, and also take the community in terms of what are their views, how best they can use these natural products.
That's really striking to me that it is a joint venture to some extent between very local partners and people and organisations and the city council. And I assume the engagement with schools and colleges, with sixth forms, hopefully there's some sixth formers listening to this as well. I assume that there is an element there of hopefully some of that might funnel through to students coming and studying here too.
Yeah, that's the main goal, is because just to show that what are the different opportunities, because within the natural products, but there's got a lot of fundamental research. So if I just go back, if someone is not feeling well, we recognize that, yes, go to GP or to a doctor. But the doctor is relying on the information, what are the symptoms we're saying to them. And then they have got the information what the pharmacist is telling them. But where the pharmacist is getting the information from. That's the biological sciences. That's the natural products. That's the different scientists doing it. But how many sixth former, how many students know that there are other routes as well and they can contribute equally important way. As similarly, there's a food production, agri-food, bioremediation, climate change, all these sectors. There is a niche market, there's a niche research group taking place. So just making that known to the students and making that more awareness, creating awareness about this one, I think that will increase.
I think this is really important because I think a lot of young people know some of the core career options that are out there for them. They see that they've been taught by teachers, so they might want to be a teacher, or they've visited a doctor, they want to be a doctor. But sometimes it's making them aware of the fact that there is this kind of stuff out there that they might not know about in the first place. The reason I was asking as well about collaboration almost with the community, I think universities, I mean, I'm very interested in this in my own research as well, that universities have been typically, I mean, back a long time ago, ivory towers is how the cliche might be seen, but walled off and doing their own work and their own research. But this does sound like a scheme, a project that is really deliberately trying to engage with not just local government, national government, but with the community. Is that fair?
Yeah, the community. I think there is one main reason is that if we are trying to develop that industry and trying to make Swansea as a center of excellence, where do we get our workforce from then? So the whole idea is that we train the people. So if there is an industry moving into this area or there is a new industry being developing, we have got the people trained up to take up those jobs. So for example, I'll give you an example in terms of the Tata Steel now. So number of people are getting out of the job, or there's no role there. Are there any alternative jobs available? So that's where the Natural Products Biohub comes in, that we identify that there are other sectors where they can fit in. And this way, so that's why we're working with the community with two ways. Workforce development. So all the people who are already in the job, how best we can uptrain them and upskill them and then give them training. And secondly, any emerging sector which is coming through this initiative, we have got the workforce ready, and then buy in from the consumer and the end user. What does they want? So that very important to understand that if we're developing something, is there a market or is the end user stakeholders are involved in there as well?
But I know it's not going to, but if the Biohub stopped functioning now, closed down, and no one took this research seriously anymore, what would happen?
Well, the first impact would be that transition from research to the product, that is going to slow down. So all we're trying to do is that, say, for example, if today, as I said, that we develop an ecosystem where all the stakeholders are connected to the Biohub. So if that ecosystem or that network is broken, then the same thing which is happening in, say, months, that might take years. So the whole purpose will be that we're trying to fast track the thing, we'll make it smoother, and that will slow down and it will become more difficult.
And the real world consequences if this research just stops for the natural environment, for food production, pretty catastrophic, do you think?
Well, I would put it in this way, for example, just to take the biopesticide research. So if that research is where taking place, so if that research just take place in the lab, and if we do not see where the demand is and then what are the issues stakeholders in terms of the growers, what are their issues are. So you might have a product which might have taken 10 years to develop, but then the farmer says that I don't want in that format, or I can't use it in that format. So rather than spending that much energy and effort and developing something which has got no real life connection, or the industry find it too much expensive to produce it, then all your research is going in a, yes, academically you are generating more information, but that information is not good for the industry or for the end users. So by bringing together all these things, we're making sure that whatever research has been taking place, it is relevant and it can be produced, or it can have an end use in terms of the product or to the society.
This is all very interesting, Farooq. I mean, a lot of it is new to me, but I feel like I'm learning. So thank you very much for laying it all out. It's been great. Thank you. If you want to find out more about Farooq's research, search Swansea Biohub. To find out more about this podcast and Swansea University's research, visit swansea.ac.uk/research. That's all from us today. Thanks for listening, and thank you again to my guest, Farooq Shah. If you've enjoyed this episode, please follow us. I'm Sam Blaxland, and that was Exploring Global Problems from Swansea University.